You appreciated last week's GP post, so I decided to repeat the format. Before starting, I remind you to subscribe to the channel and subscribe in the comments if you would like more videos similar to this. This weekend the MotoGP raced at Termas de Rio Hondo in Argentina. Track close to the Andes in a particular place where a few years ago a team was even taken hostage and robbed. The track, however, is beautiful. It is 4.8 kilometers long and has a straight of over 1 kilometer, where the MotoGP exceeds 330 kilometers per hour. Last year, in Argentina came the first victory of Aprilia Racing, won by our captain Alex Espargaro. This year unfortunately we were not able to repeat ourselves. However, the track's all-time record has stood since 2014 and is held by Marc Marquez in 1 minute 37.683 seconds. Before starting with the MotoGP, I wanted to point out how good Migno was in Moto3, who after a year without tests, the 2022 season with Honda, arrived without a bike, with nothing, arrives in Argentina an opportunity podium. Excellent! It was the second weekend with the sprint race format. For those who are not super up-to-date, practically compared to previous years, the weekend has been reorganized to introduce a 12-lap sprint race on Saturday afternoon. Friday was the day I liked the most because we scored 1-2 in both P1 and P2. In the first practice session, Maverick first and Alex second. In the second practice session, Alex first and Maverick second. After Friday, the weekend took another turn because it started to rain, and when it rains everything changes. Qualifying was very eventful, wet but with the track drying out in the end, and Alex Marquez took pole from Q1, who was very far-sighted and brave to use slick tires. With a tricky track, Bagnaia, Bezzecchi, and someone else also used them. Well done. In qualifying, Maverick was 5th and Alex was 9th. I'm also very happy for Morbidelli, who finished 4th. We arrive at the sprint. In order, Binder made the start of the year, starting 4th last and turning 5th into the first corner. As if that weren't enough, he also won the race. Bezzecchi and Marini were also very good, 2nd and 3rd, and finally Morbidelli is back to going fast, like he did a few years ago. He finished 4th, very good. I hope he can keep up this pace on the other tracks as well. Alex Marquez, very solid like in past races, P5. Unfortunately for us the sprint was not exceptional. Alex crashed and Maverick had big problems because due to a contact with Bezzecchi he lost the right side of the front wing, and clearly, having lost such an important aerodynamic part, the bike has totally changed behavior. With so much lacking load, it becomes difficult to stop the bike and turn clearly to the side with no load. Clearly he was forced to preserve himself in all the braking because otherwise he would not have been able to stop, and the biggest struggle of this situation is that you do a setup, you develop a bike, you do a fork calibration thinking about a load, if then that load is missing, the fork doesn't sink, the front stays high, the bike doesn't go in the position it was designed to go in, the front tire doesn't take any marks. All this causes the bike to stay high, there is little grip, and therefore either it tends to close or it tends not to turn. It all translates into it doesn't stop and it doesn't turn, which was precisely the problem that Maverick had in the sprint race. In any case, all the work done is paying off, and the proof is that we were always faster on Friday in the dry, so I'm quite happy for that. I remind you, let me know if you want other GP posts. Your feedback is essential to me. I read and reply to all the comments, and I am super pleased that you write me your questions so that I can answer you in the next video. Sunday's race was a bit more classic, unfortunately wet. However, I would like to point out the huge step in performance in the wet compared to 10 years ago. Clearly today's rains and bikes do it all. 10 years ago, GP bikes were really difficult to ride in the wet. Today, however, you see lean angles that are out of your mind. That's because the tires made an incredible improvement. I tried it on my skin because when I did the Moto E World Championship we used the MotoGP reins. I still remember, we were at Le Mans, there were 5 degrees, 2 inches of water on the track, so there was a lot of it, and I could lean as much as I wanted without the classic worries of the wet. You had to be careful, you didn't ride like in the dry, but really a lot of angle, considering that the Moto E weighed 270 kilograms. Think about these tires, but with 150 kilograms of motorcycles, the GP motorcycles, superfine, wonderful, perfect electronics and the lowering device that gives traction out of the corners. The result is that there are crazy angles, elbows down, really very fast times for being on the water. They are no longer 15 to 20 seconds slower than in the dry, sometimes 10, sometimes even less if there is not so much water. And when I tell you that they really have a lot of grip, I've never been to Le Mans, I arrived for the first time, FP1 of the World Championship, and it already seemed easy. They hold a lot, they're glue. Even if it was wet, they stick. Returning to the race, Bagnaia unfortunately crashed. This year, he made a crazy mental step, much more solid than last year. In fact, he did the first races of the season flawlessly. Here he made a mistake, but with water it's really very easy to screw up, and it can happen. It's really difficult, no matter how advanced motorcycles and everything are, it's really difficult not to make mistakes. The proof is that Bezzecchi, who did a wonderful race because he started second, lapped first at the first corner and was first until the end and won on the last lap. At the penultimate corner, when everything was already done, he had a lot of seconds ahead of the second. He was about to crash because his front closed, going even slower than the first lap. I don't think he did that corner to death, but it is really unpredictable and it is easy to make a mistake. Bezzecchi 10 out of 10. Very good. Morbidelli did another great race and finished 4th, so I'm really happy for him because I was sorry to see him so far behind. He has always been a reference for me. Franco, even if you ride a Yamaha, you've always been a reference, so I really hope you keep going. Zarco finished 2nd, very good, and Alex Marquez, finished 3rd, made the podium, first of the season for him, and in my opinion, as I said in the other video, I don't want to make long predictions because the season has just started, but in my opinion he could be one that you can get used to see in front. Let me know in the comments what you think of the video, but above all what you think of the race weekend. Remember, leave criticism and controversy to industry insiders and enjoy the show. This week I will have a day on the track on 4 wheels with a Formula 1 driver. I'm already really excited. I will show you everything on the channel. To not miss anything, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow me also on all the other social networks, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.